Hey,
Hello.
I,
Good.
how are
How are
you?
you?
I'm
Good.
fine.
It's good. How's the
Uh,
weather over there? A bit warmer?
yeah, it's fine. I was gonna introduce you to the viewers and stuff.
Oh, yeah. Go
Hey,
for it.
how you guys doing? This is KLA, Cloud the Wanderer, and I'm here on a Sunday night, but it's morning for her in Australia. Amy King. She's a NPC figure competitor. Yeah, and she's the founder of TWPP. And I appreciate you coming and telling your fitness journey. And yeah, like how how is thing in Australia?
Well, at the moment, it's cold for Australia, which sounds unusual because most people think it's pretty warm here. But yeah, we're in the middle of winter, so opposite season and opposite time zone to you guys. So we're just doing everything upside down.
Oh, okay. Is it that cold?
It's not like super cold. I mean, it's about, I mean, this morning it was sort of around about 6 degrees Celsius, which I'm not sure what that converts to in Fahrenheit. So it probably like equivalent to maybe like a Californian winter. So there's no snow, but it still gets pretty chill in the morning and evenings.
Okay. Yeah, we're here. I'm in New York, and it just going by so quick. It feels like summer just got here, and now we're in the middle of July, and it's very interesting because it took time for it to just get warm. It was
Oh,
like if it
really?
got warm, yeah, if it got warm today, it's gonna get cold the next day, and so forth. Yeah, so it was a very strange weather, but it could be worse. But
Yeah. Well, you might have a warm one in August yet. Who knows?
yeah. Yeah, I seen you on Instagram, and I was curious about your background in fitness. Like, how did you get started in bodybuilding?
Yeah, that's a good question. I guess when I first got started in fitness consistently was about 15 years ago. And I originally got into that. I mean, I'd sort of been on and off for a while I was in my teens and in uni. And it wasn't really until I sort of started my career that I kind of just went back to the gym and never looked back. And when I first started, it was probably more around I took a longer term view. Like I just wanted to be able to be strong and be able to live like my life to the fullest and for longer. So I just had these visions of, just not being able to carry shopping in when I'm like in my 60s or 70s or something like that. So just trying to maintain being as independent and as strong and as fit as I could for as long as possible. So I kind of started and never looked back. And then I'd always been kind of curious about bodybuilding, but back when I started, it wasn't as big a thing as it is now. The social media piece was only really taking off, and when you're on the other side of the world, it wasn't as big a thing. It was definitely a lot harder to try and find information out. But I was always a big fan of Arnold and Sly Stallone when I was growing up. I mean, I know Sly's not a bodybuilder, but Arnold and some of his movies as well, where you had some, fit, strong women in like Conan the Barbarian, and then when Linda Hamilton did her transformation in Terminator 2. So I always wanted to kind of, it didn't phase me around looking a little bit more muscular and fit. I preferred that to the other looks. So yeah, that's kind of how I started.
Yeah. I could understand that. Yeah. Did you ever heard of Corey Everson? I'm sure you're familiar
Yeah,
with her. Yeah,
yeah, Corey
she was.
Everson, and yeah, she looked amazing. And then Linda Murray as well. And then obviously we've got Australian icon Bev Francis, who was in Pumping Iron too. So I mean, I never necessarily aspired to that sort of extreme level of physique, but now like if I had my time again, I would definitely go for that level of muscularity because you appreciate the journey so much. And and both those ladies still have beautiful structure and flow and balance and still look so feminine. So yeah, definitely if I had my time over again, I'd probably go all out.
Yeah. So you started like you started competing 15 years ago?
No, I started competing about 12 years ago. So
Mhm.
I was in back here. My career is in corporate, but we have a big mining industry over here. So I also worked in for a big mining company, and for the first part of my career, I was doing what we call FIFO, which is like fly in, fly out to remote sites. Um, and I was in a FIFO gym. And back then as well, there was a lot, the ratio of males to females on site. And then even in the gym was a lot less. You're looking at like 10% of the workforce was female. So it was quite daunting. Um, but I would go into the gym and tear it up, didn't care. But I was there one time and a, uh, a, a girl came up to me and started talking to me about competing. Like I knew what it was. And she just assumed because I was sort of the most fit looking in the gym that I was already well into my competing journey. And I wasn't. And she was obviously a competitor. So she got me in contact with how to get into it. And then I went along to meet the promoters of one of the shows. I had the intention of potentially, not getting into a show until probably 12 or 18 months down the track, because at that point I really liked figure. That was when I think Erin Stern and Nicole Wilkins were at kind of the height of their figure career. I really liked that look. But the promoter encouraged me to step onto a show immediately. So within 8 weeks, I was doing my first competition. And I did it in bikini, which I would suggest wasn't ideal. And there's probably a conflict of interest there as well, because he was also a coach and kind of got me onto a cookie cutter program, which again, back then wasn't ideal, but was an entry point. But it was interesting. So I did my first kind of, I guess, super speed prep, stepped up on stage, but absolutely loved the process. And then was like, oh my God, I should have been doing this a lot earlier. And then from there, just never looked back. So that was, about 12 years ago. And then, I started off, probably did too many comps back to back, not knowing enough about what it takes to build more muscle and getting everything else in order. And then, over time, obviously have developed a better understanding of the sport and take my time to make sure I'm ready for a competition.
So you just like competed in Australia, or you went to other places?
Yeah, so I started in Australia, and in Australia we're quite big as well. So, but most of the competitions happen on the east coast, and I'm based in the west coast. So it's quite a lot of travel, bit of a time zone, a lot more cost as well involved. But in the last, how many years would it be? Uh, four, 4 or so years, I've competed internationally. So I've actually competed in the US. I did the first ever Triple O Dynasty show in Arizona under the NPC, which was
Yeah.
great. And it was good because I wanted to see how an American show was run. I mean, obviously, if you get to that next level as well in the competitions, you want to test that you can actually be competitive in an American market because it's so much bigger than the Australian one. And yeah, I ended up getting 2 first places and nearly getting the overall over in Arizona, which was amazing. And then I've also competed in Japan. That was last year. Again, that was a pro qualifier. I won my class and narrowly missed out on the pro card. And then I've obviously been competing in Australia. I have to do an Australian show every time I want to compete internationally anyway. It's part of the rules. But I do like to support the local competitions as well. And I haven't always been an NPC competitor. I've done other federations as well, but I've always done NPC as well. So, and that's the one I want to stay in, because
Yeah.
that's the one that
I
gets into the IFBB status, if that's what you want.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. When I seen your Instagram, I thought you was a IVB pro. So that I was a bit confused, but it's fine. I get it. I get
Yeah.
it because you was close,
Yeah,
So
and I
yeah,
guess the funny thing is as well, right? Like because of my height, and because of my masculinity, and because I do figure, I anywhere I go, people assume I'm a pro anyway. So like I will literally, especially when I'm in Southeast Asia, even actually when I was in America, even in different parts of Australia, people will actually come up to me and assume that I am a pro athlete. So unfortunately, I just don't have the actual qualification for that. But whether or not I'm at that level, there's always improvements, right? So there's whether or not I'm ready for that level yet is one thing. But I think it's good at least that people in the way that you carry yourself, even from probably just a leadership shadow perspective as well, that if people outside of the sport think that you're already a pro level competitor, that's probably a good sign that you're representing the sport well in any case.
yeah, yeah. We got a guest, all the rage, George Page. Good evening, folks. And George says, congrats on winning at the Triple O. Any plans to compete for your pro card?
Yes, I am actually thinking of expanding my. So I've actually, apart from also competing in a lot of NPC shows, I actually do go and travel to watch a lot of the NPC shows. I love to see how the judging is, see the quality of the competitors, support those shows. Uh, so I've watched a lot of pro shows live, but also a lot of amateur shows live as well, which is super fun. So for me, yes, I will. Definitely be competing at some point this year. I'm just not sure where that is and when that is. So yeah, we'll. There are definitely some plans to go for that pro card at some point.
Yeah. When you yeah, like when you was competing in your figure show, like did you have like a opposing coach?
Yeah. So I mean, I have several coaches because,
Okay.
as I mentioned before, well, up until recently, I had a very intense corporate career, and anyone who's worked in, kind of at corporate leadership space or anything like that, that there's no such thing as a 38-hour week. You're looking at minimum kind of 60-hour weeks. And then you're looking at a lot of mental real estate that's taken up with that as well, particularly if you're working in an educated services job. So, it's a demanding schedule. So for me, having a coach, one where I could learn, but two, also just outsourcing any necessary brain work, right? Like I know how to do programming and nutrition. I'm a qualified PT and nutritionist as well as having, my bachelor's degree. But when the stuff, it's a lot easier to then find the right coach to I guess outsource and have somebody else that's not as far in it to give you that objective perspective, look after your programming so that you can focus on what matters, which is obviously executing. The better you execute what you need to do in terms of that plan, the better the result, in my opinion. So I've gone off on a tangent here. But yes, I do have a posing coach. I've been working with one. I've worked with several posing coaches, but the one that I've enjoyed working with the most, I've been working with for 3 or so years. And they're actually based in America, which is great. And yeah, they're really great. They have posing classes as well as individual services, and then they've got all sorts of fun add-ons as well. So the classes are really fun, but there's a real focus on skill development as well, that makes up that piece of posing. And anyone who's ever competed knows that posing is entirely its own beast, which is separate to everything else that you do. The training is really the easiest part. The posing is probably something else altogether.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know that without the posing, the posing is the sport, basically from how I understand. You got to get your posing well. If you don't get the posing well, you can have a nice physique, but it's not gonna it's not gonna do nothing, So I get
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
So
100%. Yeah.
what was like your toughest? Did you ever had any like trials and error, and well, in a way you kind of did say it, like you had a coach but it didn't really turn out well. Like, did you have any like moments where like it was really tough in the sport?
Oh, yeah, all the time. I've made so many mistakes, lots of trial and errors. I've been a bit unlucky. So, for example, last year when I was traveling to Japan, the morning that I flew out, I was the best condition I'd ever been in, was looking great, was due to compete in Japan that following weekend. Unfortunately, somewhere between Monday morning and Monday evening, when I flew out, I ended up getting gastro. And being really ill on the plane, and then holding on to water and having GI distress for the entire week to the point where I just could not get rid of edema, which is something I'd never had before. And so, yeah, and then also being in Japan, which is the first time I've been there. Obviously, it's not an English speaking country. I mean, as organized and amazing as Japan is, particularly Tokyo, like it's easy to get around once you know what you're doing. But I had all sorts of logistical errors apart from also the sickness. So, um, my phone didn't work while I was there, which made it very difficult to coordinate getting to appointments. I ended up having some issues where part of my prep and food was left at a place that was 2 hours away. So just had this entire kind of Swiss cheese effect of everything that could go wrong leading into a show went wrong. Yeah, so I didn't present at my best, which, obviously was a very expensive lesson. So that's from a competing perspective. I've had, lives, right? So everyone has some unexpected things that life throws at you that can be very difficult to navigate. There's been times where, and whether that's, sort of relationship breakdowns or just some real curveballs that you've never expected. So my relationship with bodybuilding has changed. How bodybuilding has impacted other areas of my life has changed, and vice versa, right? So, yeah, it's probably not one thing, but probably a series of comedic errors that have happened over the time. And, it's one of those sports as well where you can do everything right, but it's really depends on how well you kind of peak, and who shows up on the day, and all of those things. So there's a lot that you can focus on and that you can control, but there's always going to be that element that you cannot control, and that's going to be up to whatever else is around you.
Yeah, yeah, that's tough. Yeah, that sounds tough. Yeah, there are a few worldwide pro qualifiers: the Amateur Olympia in September, Euro Pro Masters in Italy, and Romania Muscle Fest has a pro qualifier. Yes, he knows a lot about the shows that's coming up. Do you stay tuned? Like, do you like look up with the
Yeah,
NPC listings and stuff like that? Yeah, I figured you
yeah.
do. Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, I absolutely do. But obviously, there's a lot of prep. So, for example, where I am, Perth is probably, well, actually, it is. It's the most remote capital city in the world. So, whilst the European shows, and it would be amazing to go to Europe, is fine, but the euro is about 2.5 times the price of an Australian dollar. So there's a real, even, with someone who's had a good career and been able to save up money to support my sport, that the European shows, due to the travel, so getting to America is 30 hours of travel minimum. Getting to Europe is, maybe 18 hours plus as well. And then you've got the lack of favorable currency exchange. So the
Mm.
cost of doing that kind of makes it untenable. But there are plenty of qualifiers also in the um, Australasian circuit. And if anyone's been playing closely to the I guess the market as well, uh, my prediction is that the Southeast Asian market, in terms of fitness trends, is going to explode. I think that's becoming quite big. Um, it's really picking up over there. There's some really great gyms, great promoters, great shows that are being put on as well. So yeah, I think you'll see that and the quality of athletes that are coming out are quite good as well. So I think you're going to see some interesting things come out of that sector of the world in sort of next 5 to 10 years, in my opinion.
When you say Southeast Asia, like which part? Like Thailand or?
No, probably more like I would say sort of like China, Taiwan, Japan,
Oh,
sort of the major, more major areas. But then, there's still, I mean, in that circuit as well, you've got all the other little countries as well. So you've got Malaysia, you've got Vietnam, Thailand, Philippines, Indonesia. So there's quite a lot around that area, which from where I am, just to put it into perspective, where it's actually easier to get to some of those countries and quicker, and it's in the same time zone than it is for me to get to the east coast of Australia. So, there's some of those considerations to be made as well.
yeah. I know Australia, they don't have that many shows there,
No,
if I'm
they do
not
not.
mistaken. Yeah.
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 And they're very expensive over here too. So no, there's not that many shows. So you've only got um, a couple of opportunities. Plus I would say, in my opinion as well, the look that they go for is a little bit different. They tend to go for, and conditioning will always win shows. And conditioning is probably favored over here more than posing and anything else, which is fair. I mean, if you get to that next level, conditioning is definitely going to be king. But yeah, there's sort of a size and conditioning is what they tend to reward over here for most of the divisions, with the exception of, say, Fit Model and a few others. So it's a very and the quality of competitors is pretty good over here too. So it's small but very tough.
How tall are you as a figure competitor?
I'm about 177 centimeters from memory. I haven't checked my height that
Oh,
recently. So I think that's about 5'11", maybe
okay. All
five
right.
ten,
Yeah,
five
you
eleven.
look pretty. Yeah, you look pretty tall. That's why I was asking. Yeah.
Yeah.
You look pretty
Yes.
tall. Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
not super tall, but for a bodybuilder, it's pretty tall.
Yeah. 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 Let me showcase some more this video. So yeah, this is you in action. And what show
Uh,
was this?
oh, this was ages ago, so I'm a lot better physique than that. But this was, I think that was 2022.
Okay.
2023, and that was the Melbourne Regional Show. So yeah, that one I won the overall. Um, yeah, there's probably a more recent video actually from my last show.
Hmm. Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
fine. Yeah, so this is the Perth Regional where I got the overall as well, and then I made top 3 at the Nationals same season.
Yeah. And he says also the money exchange is easier in Southeast Asia.
Yeah, yeah, that's true as well. That yes, a lot more favorable conditions. And
Yeah.
this was quite some time ago. I think this was like 2021, so it's
Right.
smaller.
Like when you preparing for a show, what's your workout like? Your workout routine like?
It really depends on what our focus is, where I'm at. So what do you mean in terms of like training load, resistance
Yeah,
training, amount of
like in a
cardio?
week, like like if you have like a week out on your on your show,
Yeah,
like 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 how many days of the week would you work out and train? Like
it
I
really,
don't.
yeah, it really depends. So if it's 1 week out, you're in peak week anyway, right? And by then you should be ready. So the trick is to a good peak week, in my experience, is the main thing you need to focus on is getting into a rhythm and trying to replicate what's going to happen on show day. And the main thing you need to manage is stress. But there's a lot more logistics, particularly for a female competitor, because we've got a lot more things that we need to do to get ready for show day than say a male competitor. Um, so it's really about rest and recovery. Yes, you will need to train, because if you're carbing up, and it depends if you're getting a carb up or not, then you want to be able to fill the muscle out and make sure the carbs are going in there. But the trick is not to overdo the training, which is where I think a lot of competitors go wrong. Like, you can't build muscle at that point. You don't want to risk creating extra unnecessary inflammation. or tiring yourself out, or risking injury, right? Particularly as you get further along in this sport. I'm not young now, so I need to train smarter, not harder. So a week out will be, anywhere between 4 and 5 sessions, maybe a little bit more, but the intensity and the volume will drop back significantly. So it almost feels not really like a workout. You're just kind of going in and pumping up. I mean, you're still working at probably anywhere between 50 and 75% intensity. So for anyone else, it looks like a normal training session. But for those in the sport, it's like, what is this? It's like play gym.
Uh, like, do you got like family? Like, you got kids? You married, or and how
I'm
do
married.
they?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm married. And I don't have kids. That's just never really factored in what I wanted to do. I was always so career focused. Um, my husband has done a couple of competitions in the past as well.
Okay.
So we kind of met through the fitness circuit to a degree. Um, so yeah, at least he understands the sport a little bit. And then I have plenty of friends in it. Um, yeah, my family's kind of dispersed all over the world. So, but my sister and that has come to some competitions in the past. And I have one auntie who's very impressed, who is you wouldn't expect from, because she's very traditional in terms of her cultural views and that sort of thing, which wouldn't necessarily factor in strong bodybuilding women. So, yeah, she's the cutest.
Yeah, that's cool. Like, I mean, at least you got your husband and and your sister. They
Yeah.
got some experience in bodybuilding. If there wasn't nobody that was into bodybuilding, I know it'd be hard for you. So, but that's good. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I
Do
mean,
now.
when
Oh, I'm sorry.
when I first started, oh no, that's all right. When I first started, that wasn't always the case, right? But as you go through this and your values change and you start to, I guess, be confident in what you want out of life, people either fall away or they join in, right? So, I sometimes joke with my husband that I'm like, if you get in the way of my bodybuilding, it's you that's going to go, not the other way around, because it was here first. And we always joke about that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I can imagine. I know you're like you're a fitness trainer. Like you coach bodybuilders, competitors, majority of times.
Yeah, so I actually, interestingly enough, I have a bit of a remit. So yes, I do take a lot of competitors, particularly first timers, through their first prep. I have worked with some pro athletes before, but I've actually also worked with strongman athletes, which is super fun.
Oh,
And yeah, that's been really fun. And I also have professional stunt artists that I've been working with for some time as well. So that's quite a challenge, because the amount and difference of their training is difficult to keep up with. You have to really prioritize what they're focusing on, because they have to be across so many different disciplines in terms of their physical fitness. And then they have to be in striking distance, because their roles and what they get employed for is, it's like acting, right? You don't know when the next job is coming, and
yeah,
what they have to focus on. So that's super challenging. And then I have actually, because of obviously my corporate and leadership background as well, I do have a lot of what I would call high performers and entrepreneurs. So they sit more kind of in that mindset and nutrition and a little bit of programming space. But yeah, my passion is definitely bodybuilding competitions and yeah, working with competitors.
yeah. Cool. Like the like do you said like you work on with the people of strong men. Like, is it women that compete in strong men, or just anybody?
Yes, well, there's women, but actually, I'm being pretty blessed. So probably a bit unusual. Like I work with quite a lot of male clients as well as female.
Okay.
So yeah, which is unusual. Usually kind of geared towards one or the other. But yeah, I guess my directness and so on. yeah, I seem to have a cross appeal and can get results with either of them. So yeah, so my strongman client was a male one, but and I've worked with female and male bodybuilders, and my stunt artist is a female one. So yeah, so probably wide range, really.
What's it like training them?
Well, I don't train strongman because the programming is different, but the nutrition and the mindset and the comp day support, because there's a lot of logistics and the nutrition timing is super critical. And rather than having a peak week, for example, like you would with competitors, I call it a meet week for strongman. So that's they have to, that there's a different protocol in terms of nutrition timing, digestion, sleep, recovery, and everything else that goes into it outside of their training load. And then usually, if it's a good competitor, they'll have a team of coaches, in which case you can kind of link in and make sure that you're not running in one direction while the other coach is running in another. So yeah, so that's been a lot of fun. And then the show day is or the comp day is a lot different and super fun. So a lot of work, but definitely rewarding. And it's pretty impressive as well, just seeing like the ridiculous things that these strongmen can push. So that's always exciting. A little bit better than sort of boring old bodybuilding training, which is just hypertrophy. Sorry, go ahead.
I was kind of focusing on bodybuilding a bit. I probably should have been specific, but like
Yeah.
it's on you're like a behavior you like a behavior specialist or something like that, where it's mostly on the attitude of the training.
Yeah, there's a bit of mindset work, and particularly with nutrition, but also just everything. So I think, yeah, so not only do I train competitors, I've also started a peer-related membership called the Whole Prep Project. And,
Yeah.
one of the things I've noticed is that, from a competitor perspective, particularly for those who have been in this, never been in the sport, there's a big learning curve between uh, being someone who regularly trains and eats reasonably well to actually becoming a competitor. A lot of people get overwhelmed by the amount of detail. Also, sometimes the standard of what you can get access to is mixed and people don't know what they don't know. And I've got plenty of experience being in the trenches, but also having done things wrong, building a network over the years. So I've created basically a membership to help people really understand, kind of zoom out a little bit and think of everything from a holistic point of view. Where do things fit in? What do you need to put in place? How do you sustain this sport? And then for those who are more experienced, then we go into more of the deeper, okay, what's the next piece that needs to undercover for unlocking that next level? What's the performance things that you're leaving on the table? What do you need to focus on that's going to drive the most amount of results rather than doing more and more things? So we sort of get more into that mindset, behavioral, psychological kind of principles. And then, obviously bringing in the right guest speakers to do those deep dives as well. So yeah, so it's something else that it's not out there at the moment. There's either coaches that focus on protocols and science, which is all very important, but the frameworks for decision making, how to get the most out of your coaching relationships, how to put the right support team in place, what to focus on in each season, and then in relation to your other seasons so that you're actually making improvements and becoming more competitive. That's the kind of stuff that I'm working in as well. So, and also just providing super practical things as well. So even from a logistics point of view, as I've mentioned, some of the things that I've talked about, the cost of competing at different places, the strategy of where you're going to go next. You can't just decide that, okay, well, I'm in condition, I'm just going to travel 30 hours to a place and start competing. That takes a little bit of lead time and planning. So, how do you come up with those strategies and who do you work with and how do you make those decision points? So I've got some really super practical tools on how you might work your way through some of those things and what to consider.
Yeah. That's good. I mean, because it's like a sport that it seemed like it could stress you out if you let it. Like, it's expensive and traveling, and there was this bodybuilder. She took her life. She was stressed out, and I think she did a show and she was saying that she spent all her money. I think she traveled. She went to Tokyo or something like that, and then when she came back, she was nearly broke, and she just ended her life. And I mean, my point is, it seemed like it's if you don't have it together in your mind, it can get to you, and that's
Well, I
very
think
important.
I think the thing is as well is that prep will put like a laser like focus on things that aren't working. So if you think of like bodybuilding lifestyle and a prep, and when you're in prep, you're under resourced and there's a lot of pressure, and you kind of get laser like focus on what's not working. So think about it like imagine that you've got a water pipe and you've got some leaks somewhere, and you turn up the pressure on that water. Like if you turn on the tap and you put in like a lot of pressure through that pipe, you're going to find out really quickly where the leaks are and what's going to break, right? If you've got a faulty washer, or if you've got a leak in the pipe or some corrosion somewhere, that's just going to come spilling out everywhere. And I've seen a lot of people over the years, that they might have been talented, but they've burnt out really quickly. So, or they've gone too far into the bodybuilding and haven't set everything else up, and destroyed relationships, destroyed careers, gone broke for essentially what is a plastic trophy. And they haven't connected with the deeper gifts of what bodybuilding can provide, and or being able to work out that bodybuilding can actually be a tool that can enhance other areas of your life as well, right? So, if you apply some of the principles to bodybuilding to your career, you can actually enhance it, and vice versa, right? So I think there's a gift to this sport, but if you don't take it with that, or if you're chasing, particularly at the moment, right, there's a lot of TikTok things out there, and everyone's chasing a result quicker, and they're taking shortcuts, and there really is no shortcuts to this sport. And in doing so, you're going to risk a lot more than finances and your career. You could be risking your health, and your longevity. And if you don't have your health, you don't have anything, right? So I guess there's a point around, making sure that you're clear on why you're getting into it. And then how do you evolve that relationship as you grow into that sport as well? And how do you put everything else in place that, that you can comfortably grow in the sport without putting everything else at risk?
Yeah. Do are you like the only one that's I don't know, I'm just asking, like, are you the only one that does this, like, with the
Yeah,
behavioral
I'm,
body in Australia?
yeah. Well, no, definitely not. I've only started
Mhm.
this membership, which is actually worldwide, and it has members from Southeast Asia and the US in there as well. It's very small and
Okay.
still building it. No, but there's some really great. Well, I mean, there's a lot of coaches that are sitting in this space, and there's a lot of allied health professionals. There's some bodybuilding psychologists. I've connected with some in the US and some in Australia. You've also got, obviously your high performance coaches, and all of those would sit in another space that would be in that sports space. So no, I wouldn't say that I in this space. In terms of like a broader industry, I'm definitely not the only one that sort of focuses on this thing. But in terms of what I'm creating here, there's nothing like it from what I've seen in the market in terms of having that real holistic, kind of systems, strategy, and performance kind of aspect. It's basically taking, which anyone who's been in the leadership space or business space would understand, but it's like taking a systems thinking approach and applying it to a bodybuilding lifestyle, which is kind of a lateral kind of approach anyway. So yeah, I don't see that there's too many things out there that are doing this. And of course, the applicability of that kind of model would apply to other sports, but it's just been focusing on bodybuilding and competitive bodybuilding stage.
Okay. Um, all the way, George Page, what do you feel could help in your overall development?
Great questions, George. What do you mean in terms of overall development? Do you mean from a physique perspective, business perspective, mindset perspective?
I don't know. He gotta probably um type in, but I think when he said overall development, I think as an amateur, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know, George, if you want to put gonna be Pacific. You can type it in, and you got the bicep
Muscles.
flex from.
I
Yeah,
love
he always
it.
putting that in there. Yeah, characters.
But fantastic. Look, everyone's always got their improvements, right? But you can only focus on so much in
Oh, he
every
says
improvement
everything.
season. Oh,
He says
everything.
everything.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, okay.
Okay.
So I mean, yeah, there's a lot of things. I mean, anyone who's in any kind of journey, you're always going to be leaning into where's that next opportunity for growth, and then the trick is how do you lift up and make sure that you're focusing on the things that are going to shift that dial the quickest, because you can't focus on everything. If you focus on everything, you focus on nothing, right? So from a physique perspective, look, the improvements that I've been chasing in the last improvement season, we've achieved. But can I do more? Absolutely. And that was really from a physique perspective, probably bringing up the lats a little bit more shoulders, a little bit more arms, and some upper glute. So those were sort of the areas that we've been kind of focused on from a physique perspective. From a competing perspective, for me, which is what I'm trying to do at the moment, is having that agility in terms of being able to compete in different environments. It is quite a challenge competing internationally, and traveling to doing lots of long travel. So, even just things like the food can be different. Simple things like, where do I actually get the food from? So grocery shopping becomes its own logistical thing, which seems really quite interesting from that perspective. Uh, so so yeah, from a competing perspective, it's probably that international traveling resilience, I guess, is and formula is probably the best piece there. Obviously, peaking is one of those things that I think every competitor is always going to want to do. Um, you can do everything right in the season, and then it comes down to how well you peak into the show as well. So that's always going to be a challenge for any competitor, I would argue. Um, and then from a business and entrepreneur perspective, for me, it's really getting the business out there, growing my audience, and actually leaning into this entrepreneurial space. I mean, it's a career change, so that's a big identity shift. And I think that's one of the gifts around bodybuilding, right? That you gain that confidence to be able to lift and shift and apply it to different areas and know that you'll be okay. So it's really, I guess, getting that membership out there, growing it, and hopefully having a really positive impact on the industry. So I guess for me, it's really important to have a lasting impact beyond something that's great, something that's greater than myself, that will actually benefit the people that follow in to this journey well after my time.
Yeah. How far do you think you see yourself competing?
Well, I don't have any plans to stop anytime soon, even though I
Okay,
am.
maybe that's too early for me to ask.
Yeah.
I just asked because it's a lot. I ain't gonna lie, it's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah.
So that's why I
Um,
asked.
Well, I mean, I've been competing for 12 years. I feel like I'm only just scratching the surface. It really comes down to how well my body holds up.
Yeah,
And what I'm loving as well is that, we're seeing a lot more really competitive masters competitors coming through as well. Um, and regardless of whether or not I compete, I think I'll still be in the industry helping other competitors moving on anyway. So I think I'll always be involved in the sport in some way or another. And then I'll definitely always be training, regardless of whether or not I'm competing and eating well. So, and still pushing to a degree. So, yeah, hopefully that answers that question.
yeah. Eh, all the rage George Page, other than Beth Francis, are there any other Australian bodybuilders you pay attention to?
That's a really interesting question. I mean, yeah, there are some Australian bodybuilders that are doing really well across all the divisions. So, obviously it's a small industry here. So yes, I do know some pros, have plenty of peers that are competitive at that level. Yeah, you're always going to want to support anyone that's doing well internationally as well. We've got some competitors that are starting to get their stride in some of those US and international shows, and some of them are starting to get Olympia qualifications, which is great. So, yes, there's heaps. I mean, I could spend the next 40 minutes probably listing all of them. So, I won't do
Yeah.
that.
I mean, are you're
Yeah.
familiar? I'm sure you're familiar with Renee Archer. She's a figure.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
She
Yeah.
she
Yeah.
just turned pro not too long ago. Yeah,
Yeah. Actually,
I would
yeah. Yeah.
assume.
We had a conversation before she went into her Tokyo show where she actually won her pro card. So yeah, it's yeah, she's been in the sport a long time, and yeah, looking forward to seeing her pro debut.
Yeah. Like you I know you mentioned about you you competed in natural bodybuilding shows. Like what natural bodybuilding shows have you competed?
Sorry, other. I think I competed in other federations.
Oh
So
yeah, that's
yeah,
what I meant. Yeah.
yeah. So the other ones that I've competed in would have been IFBB Elite, and
Oh,
I
okay.
think that's it actually. Yeah, and then obviously because there was a split between the NPC and the Elite that happened 2017 now. So yeah, I've kind of always been part of that IFBB NPC and then when it split, I kind of dabbled in both for a while and then decided that I wanted to stick to NPC.
Okay. Yeah, I see you got your poster there in the back on the missing
Oh
place
yeah,
every competitor's prep.
yeah. So that's I've got a couple of these in the gyms and things like that. So yeah, this is the whole prep project. Um, yeah, so that's yeah, just makes a nice little background to the videos. So
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Well, I mean, I think that's about it. I mean, do you got any advice for people that want to do bodybuilding or just keep fit? Anything like that?
yeah, I guess so. So the first one with competing, I think, is to really yeah, take a longer term view, realize that there's a lot of pieces in there. It's easy to get overwhelmed with all the detail, and you don't have to fix everything all at once. So, the whole prep project can be a really great place to find out if competing's even for you. I've run something called the Prep Blueprint Workshop, which actually takes people who are considering competing and gives them some frameworks to decide whether or not competing will be for them. And it goes through, basically a skills behavioral assessment, um, basically a mental readiness piece, as well as also what are you actually doing? If you don't like training and you're not training consistently, then competing is probably not going to be for you, right? Doesn't mean that it can't be. It's just there's other things that you need to put in place. What are the sort of minimum health markers that you want to pay attention to? All of those sorts of things. What are the costs it's going to involve? How much lead time do you need? All of those sorts of things are covered. So it's really comprehensive. Really great feedback on that. And I ended up getting a whole panel of pros from all different federations to talk about their experience and journeys as well, which gave a lot of insight beyond what I could communicate, which was great. And in anyone else who wants to just be fit, I mean, the main thing is just consistency, right? But it's just doing little improvements all the time. So you might just start with, getting in and training consistently. Don't worry about whether or not you've had the perfect session. If it means that you can only get to the gym and the first step is literally just going in and swiping your membership card and then going home, we just want to build the habit of you getting to the gym in the first place, right? And then the next step will be, you'll be like, well, this is silly. I'll take a first step into the door. And then if you just do one set of something, right, you just get the body moving. It's just about really breaking it down and getting consistent with that. And then being accountable, right? So, track what you do and get less attached to the data. If the data doesn't mean anything, you don't need to assign a meaning to it. Just get used to the data so that you can map trends over time. I think a lot of people get, stuck on, what they weigh at the moment or how much food they did or didn't eat in one particular day. But it's really the trend over time that makes a difference. So just get into the habit of tracking and then you can look at the opportunities to optimize. And I think as well, like if you want to do well in one area of your life, like fitness needs to be a part of that. Like a strong body is going to help you have the mental clarity. It's going to give you a strong mind. It's going to help improve your confidence. So your interpersonal relationships will be improved as well. So I think if you're really dedicated around improving your life, then the fitness and eating well has to be a part of that.
Yeah, like what's your daily diet routine?
Uh, for me, I'm eating quite a lot actually, which is great.
Um,
For me, I have obviously protein in the morning, usually egg whites and eggs, and then some sort of carb source. So usually oats with some one or two fruits as well. Throughout the day, there'll be some protein yogurt with some more fruit and other carbs. Then I'll have, anywhere up to between three and five, meat and veg and some sort of carbs, so either rice or potatoes or pumpkin or sweet potato, uh, and we move through chicken, beef, fish, whatever is relevant to what season I'm in, and then we just adjust the calories. So my diet all year round pretty much stays the same, because for me, like, it's less decision fatigue. I know my body can digest it well. I know my body can rely on getting food at a certain time. We just reduce a little bit of variety when I get closer to comp if needed, or if I'm traveling, and adjust the calories. So I think that's the other thing is as well. There's still enough variety where I'm not eating the same thing every single day, but there's not so much variability that it makes it difficult to stay on top of it, if that makes sense.
yeah, I get it. I mean, it's better than chicken and rice all every day. Right?
I could live on chicken and rice. I could live on tuna and rice. There's a lot of things I could
Mhm.
happily live on if it's done right. But yeah, there is definitely more than just chicken and rice. And in fact, you probably want more than just chicken and rice if you want to sustain um,
Mhm.
growth in this sport, but even just a healthy lifestyle, right?
Yeah. Um, I know you said that it helps you in discipline. So he says consistency and discipline are the building blocks for bodybuilding. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I think the thing is as well, like people think that there's a lot of discipline. And the reality is that discipline to me is a skill. It's not something you have or you don't have. And discipline doesn't happen overnight. And it looks like discipline, but there's discipline. And it comes from that little bit of consistency over time. And then it gets to a point where the the least path of resistance is actually sticking to that habit. Like it would be harder to deviate from that habit. So from the outside, it looks like discipline, but really it's the cumulative effect of something that you've just done uh, over time. So, discipline is almost like one decision that you made in one area, and then you just kept doing it, and then you stopped thinking about it. And so it looks like discipline, but reality is it's not. Now, there will be times when you'll need to dig a little bit deeper to either maintain that habit or to drive a little bit deeper, when you're calorie deprived and you've got to push through that extra little bit of cardio or you've got to push through that extra training session or whatever it is. But um, the discipline on recovery is usually where most people will fade. They'll put recovery as an option rather than as a non-negotiable. And I think the discipline for training and eating is one thing, but the discipline for recovery is usually the area that's lacking, from what I've seen.
But so you like what you mean like recovery? Like, can you break that down a little bit? Like,
Yeah. So your biggest one is sleep, which is one that I can say that I have not been as great with. Obviously, you mentioned that I had quite a big workload for some time. And one of the things that was always my failure was just not being able to actually even get into bed for long enough to actually get enough sleep. So sleep's a big one. But I think the further you get in this sport, and if you want to keep that longevity, that piece of recovery, I mean, even if you look at some of the podcasts on, CBUM and Phil Heath and all that, they talk about, how their strategies for how they incorporated more and more recovery into their routines. Um, and so recovery, I think there's different forms. So that's where you rely on your allied health professionals to make sure your body's working optimally as well. So there's also pieces around keeping your body functional and mobile and rested and released. So whether that's some physio, chiro, whether it's remedial massage, PNF stretching, all of those things. So, in some instances, it could be things like ice baths and all those sorts of things. But I think the basics really are um, less the fancy stuff and more around, okay, what's actually helping my body repair and grow. And sleep is always going to be the easiest and cheapest one to do, but it's one of the hardest with a world that's full of distractions.
Okay. Yeah, I hope you get more sleep in your
Oh, no, I
in your
definitely am
study.
now. So,
Okay.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
well, thank you for this education. I really appreciate you,
No, well, thank you for
teaching
having me
us.
on. And
Yeah, yeah. Hope you get your pro card soon.
well,
Did
it's
you
out
did
of
you
my
say
hands.
what- did you did
Oh,
you
yeah.
did you say what show that you're gonna be doing
No,
soon?
I haven't decided that yet, so I'm keeping that one under
Okay.
wraps. But yeah, there might be a couple of shows. So again, I'll be looking at that NPC worldwide schedule and developing a plan for that. It will be sometime this year. So I will keep you posted. But yeah, I will. Regardless of whether I get that pro card or not, there's still some pieces around me bringing a better package than what I ever have to date, me still improving my physique to where I'm happy for and presenting it in the way that I want to. All of those things happen, irrespective of whether or not you get that card. I mean, would it be great to have that card? Absolutely. But is that the driver that keeps me going? Not really. Like, I love this sport and I love that improving and bringing a better version of me every time. So yeah, I guess that's the other piece as well. So I'll be gunning for it, but at the same time, it's not going to detract from everything I'm focusing on, if that makes sense.
Okay. Okay. All the rage George Page. Uh, have a good day.
Thank you. You too,
Mm.
George.
All right.
Thanks for the questions.
All right. All right, everybody. It's a wrap.
Thank you so much.